You want to make it down? You want to set 5?
من خیلی وقت داشته این خسته میمونم امید 5 ساعت وقت یه ساعت آقا من برشتم کاری کنم بعدش خسته ولی هر موقع مثلا پلات چیز دارم کنم چی من موندم باید بگیر مثلا اگه هشتم زیر آره رسید ساعتش برسه خیلی از این بابت
Oh, I see.
من بیشتر حقیقت شده
That clock is so wrong.
We're like, hey, course is over.
Are we that late?
Yeah, I won't let you because it needs access to the drive. All right.
It's fine, we'll manage it.
Done?
Yeah. I will.
Yeah. You're better off doing that.
Yeah, I probably will.
The clicker's not going to work. Okay. Everyone have a great course. Enjoy.
Thanks a lot. Hi, everybody. Good morning. How's everybody's weekend? Good. Weekend? What's going on?
Do you have another print out?
Oh, they're here, yeah.
There's some here.
Your phone is here too.
You can keep that.
Yeah?
Sure.
Who needs it? Oh,
Oh,
okay.
there.
No. I'm happy to hold on to it. Okay, so I see some familiar faces, obviously. So we are talking about pre-construction today. I'm sure a lot of you are quite familiar with the industry, but there will be some repeated information, and for that I apologize. It's just a refresher, I'm sure, for those of you who have worked in pre-construction, and there will be some new information for some of you who might not be so much familiar with it. So everybody has their handouts. What we're going to talk about is what is the world of pre-construction. So pre-construction is basically any property that is not built and the builder is selling from a floor plan of sorts. Could be considered pre-construction. This could be a condo apartment, it could be a townhouse, it could be a condo townhouse, freehold townhouse, and it could be a detached home. So all of these could be considered pre-construction properties. So the difference between freehold and condo, everyone's familiar with that, obviously. Just keep in mind, there are a lot of, and most recently especially, the builders are building a lot of townhouses that are considered freehold. However, in order to get the permit to build the property, now what they're offering the city is for the city not to build the road for it. And the builder's building the road, so it's a private road, and the builder will basically attach a condo corporation to that road for the maintenance and upkeep of the road, and the snow removal, garbage removal, and so there will be a minimum monthly fee. I've seen $80 and I've seen $500 a month for maintenance of the grounds. And so it's basically in the resale world, you refer to it as PODL. In the pre-construction world, we refer to it as freehold with a condo element attached to it. So there will be a condo corporation, there will be a reserve fund, and there is going to be a monthly fee. The nice thing about it is, I mean, obviously there are pros and cons, but the pro to having a condo element attached to a freehold townhouse property is the fact that, yes, you are paying a certain amount of money on a monthly basis, but the city, when they come to calculate your taxes, it might not be dollar for dollar, but they're not charging you the portion that they would normally charge you for the snow removal and the garbage removal of your street, because it's no longer a municipal street, so you're not paying that to the city. So, you know, it's sort of, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's dollar for dollar, to be honest with you, but you are sort of getting that credit. At the same time, waiting for the city and for the municipality to come and remove the garbage and to come and remove the snow, it's basically your area will have to wait your turn. Now that it's a privatized service and it's only for the plot of land that you're in, obviously the condo corporation will make sure that you're amongst the first to basically get your services done, because it's a third party that's hired to come and take care of it. So you're getting better services when it comes to garbage removal, snow removal, and whatnot. Freehold towns we talked about. Condo apartments, everyone's familiar with condo apartments. And freehold detached homes. Just keep in mind, when you are in the dealing with pre-construction world, not every builder who is selling pre-construction will cooperate with realtors. One thing you want to always make sure of is whether or not this builder is paying commission, because you don't want to be doing the work and bringing your clients into the site and not being compensated for it. In particular, detached properties are the ones that for the longest time the builders didn't even have to bother with realtors, just because these products were flying off the shelf. They didn't have to worry about it. Nowadays, I'm finding because of the shift in the market, they are approaching us more and more and offering commission for selling their product and for selling the freehold properties. Keep in mind, when there is a freehold property that you're selling as a pre-construction property, once the agreement of purchase and sale is signed, and we'll go into more details about the agreement of purchase and sale, but keep in mind that the 10-day cooling off period that automatically applies to freehold or condo properties no longer applies to freehold properties. The minute your client signs a freehold, in most cases, I want to say 99% of the cases, when a builder is selling a freehold property, that automatic 10-day rescission period does not apply. So you just want to make sure with the builder, when you are representing or presenting a freehold property to your client, keep in mind they will not have that cooling off period. In such instances, I really truly recommend you ask for a copy of the agreement, a blank copy of the agreement, have the lawyer review the paperwork, because the minute they put pen to paper and receive their executed copy, that's a firm and binding deal. They no longer have that cooling off period. So have the paperwork reviewed prior to them signing it if it is going to firm on the spot. So when you are dealing with pre-construction properties, what you're going to be provided is a floor plan of sorts, where the builder has had their architects draw for you what the unit would look like, where the washroom's located, and inside the unit, depending on who the builder is and who the architectural company is, they will indicate for you. Sometimes they show couches and how you could set up the living room and where the TV should go. It's just an idea to let you know that, you know, this is how you could set up the place. There's a room for a couch, and there's a room for your TV stand, and there's room for a dining table and whatnot. But they will also indicate where the fridge is, and where the stove is, and where the sinks are, and so on and so forth. So the floor plan, it's a good idea. Each builder has, you know, they vary it just so slightly. They will have little code words, and there's usually a legend on the side of the screen that shows you that PS stands for piping system, and P stands for electrical panel, and basically little information like that. But more or less, a floor plan is a floor plan, and you can see the thicker, darker walls are in most cases weight-bearing walls. So in the event your client wants to customize the unit, you know, those thicker walls might not be so easily removed. And then the thinner walls are your normal walls. They'll show you an indication of where the kitchen island will be, and the cabinetry, and so on and so forth. So it's a good idea, if you're not familiar with the pre-construction industry, to just visit the sales offices. Go to as many sales offices as you can, familiarize yourself with the product, just grab brochures, review them, so that you can kind of get used to the idea of what this world of pre-construction is compared to your resale. Because, hi. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have just a question.
Sure.
By floor plan, is it possible sometimes, because it's happened to me, we didn't have to give you the exact floor plan that they're providing before building?
What do you mean? When it comes to agreement of
For example, after I got my house on the plan, there was a garage door inside, and they fit the garage and inside home. But the moment they build it, after they said, oh, no.
that door was no longer there.
Yes.
Yes, so that floor plan that they give you, they usually include a copy of that layout in your agreement of purchase and sale, and that is basically their commitment to you that that is the floor plan that they're providing. So that's a really good case for a lawyer to review and let them know, okay, you know, I was promised this door. Perhaps they're at this point, because it's already built, they might not be able to open the door for you, but that you might be entitled to some financial compensation. But yes, so the floor plan that gets attached, so there are two types of floor plan. What you get when you walk into a sales office and they give you a package, that's their marketing floor plan. And it's not, basically, nothing's written in stone in that. And almost in all cases, you'll see at the bottom, subject to change, or, you know, I mean, information to be verified and whatnot. But the floor plan that they attach to the agreement of purchase and sale as a Schedule A of your agreement, that's the legal document that is binding, and that is what they have to adhere to when it comes to building the property, and they have to deliver that floor plan that's attached to your agreement of purchase and sale. I've actually seen where the marketing floor plan indicated the size of a room as 4 by 9, and the actual legal floor plan that was attached in the agreement of purchase and sale showed the room as 4 by 8, for example. And so in that instance, the Schedule A, that's part of the agreement, is the one that's binding, and that's what the builder will go by. Keep in mind, Tarion does allow up to a 5% variance of the square footage. So if your client is promised 1,000 square feet, it is quite normal for the builder not to deliver exactly 1,000 square feet. They have up to a 5% variance, and it could be a little bit more, and I promise you 99.99% of the time it's a little bit less.
Yeah.
And you know, you can, your client, I had a client where they basically went up in arms trying to figure out the exact square footage based on the floor plan they were provided. They took the square footage of bedroom number 1, they added it to the square footage of bedroom number 2, they added it to the square footage of the kitchen and whatnot, and every time they added it, it came about 200 square feet short of what the builder was saying. And you know, the builder's going to tell you, no, you're not calculating the walls, you're not calculating the hallways, you're not calculating this. They have a different method of calculating. So you can't take the square footages of the rooms and add them up and basically just to confirm the square footage. They're just done differently. Leave it to the engineers. The down payment. So in most cases, when you get a marketing package from a developer, you will, nowadays they do it slightly differently, but they give you a floor plan and they give you a brochure about who the builder is, what the project is, where the project is located, and what it's going to consist of. They will also give you a price list of sort. And on this price list, they will not ever list for you all the units that are available in the building. They will give you one sample of each floor plan, and it's in most cases the price of the lowest floor of that floor plan available. So it's up to you to realize that every floor you go up, there's usually a premium that gets added up. So in most cases, it's 1,000. I've seen 500. I've seen for very tall buildings nowadays downtown, what they do is up to the 20th floor, your increments are $1,000 a floor. On the 20th floor, there's all of a sudden a jump of $5,000. And from the 21st, again, it's $1,000. And so on and so forth. So just keep in mind and confirm with the sales person on site what the floor premiums are, because that price that you see there is for the lowest floor available. You hand the floor plan, the price list to client, and client says, I want this 1 bedroom plus 10 at $350,000. They get a unit on the 15th floor, and it's no longer $350,000 because it's gone up at $15,000 per floor, and now it's $365,000. And they're going to be like, no, no, no. The price list says $350,000. There is a floor premium. In some cases, there's also going to be a view premium. If that floor plan is offered facing north and facing south, I can promise you 100% of the time on the south facing view, there will be a premium for the view. So just keep in mind and ask the sales site what the premiums are and what basically that price represents. On the price list, you'll also find the deposit structure. They'll tell you for local purchasers what the deposit structure is. Now that we have so many overseas buyers, they also indicate what the deposit structure is for overseas international purchasers. They'll also tell you what the maintenance fees are and what the maintenance fees include and what they don't include. They'll tell you what the approximate property taxes are, and the property taxes are approximate because obviously the building is not built, and so there is no tax assessment done on the property. Tax assessment will be done once the building is built, once it's closed, and once it's registered and the condo corporation takes over. So all of this could take about a year or so, year and a half, where your client is not paying property taxes necessarily. All of a sudden, a year and a half after they've closed on the property, they get this tax bill, and it's basically prorated from the day they took ownership. So just prepare your clients to be ready for that little lump sum of money that's going to come their way. But approximately most builders nowadays estimate the property taxes to be 1% of your purchase price. The reason being, the property assessment will be done slightly lower than their purchase price, and the rate of calculation is 0.8 something percent. So just to simplify it for everybody, we'll just tell the purchaser it's approximately 1% of your purchase price when the property taxes are assessed. The floor plan, the price list, or sometimes a separate sheet, is attached indicating what the incentives are. And incentives could be what the builder is offering to entice your buyer and you as the realtor to sell this property and to purchase this property. So it could be free locker, it could be a cap on closing costs, and in most cases that's development charges. And I'll talk about the closing costs and what that means in a little bit. It could be assignments. Assignments are basically when your client is given permission to sell the property, the agreement of purchase and sale prior to closing the property. In most events, the builder will have a fee associated with an assignment agreement. But in some cases, as an incentive, they will waive that fee and they will tell you, okay, as an incentive package, if you buy right now during our platinum launch, you can waive that assignment fee. Keep in mind, even if they tell you assignment at $0, there's always going to be an admin fee that's associated with it, because the builder will not cover their lawyer's fees. And there is a few $100s of lawyer's fees that the builder will basically be charged when their lawyer's accommodating an assignment of an agreement, and that fee will be passed on to your purchasers. So just basically keep that in mind. So it's never $0. There's always a fee associated. And those are basically examples of assignments. It could also be credit on closing. It could be credit towards upgrades. These are called incentives. Where are we here? 10-day rescission period. So like I talked about, the condo or anything that has a condo element attached to it will automatically have a 10-day cooling off period. So from this 10-day cooling off period will start from the moment your client receives their executed agreement of purchase and sale. So if you and your client go into the sales office and sign the agreement today, you're not provided an agreement back right away. They tell you, okay, we'll have to send this to the builder and have it executed. We'll call you when it's ready to be picked up. Your 10-day does not start on the 24th when they sign the agreement. Your 10-day will start from the moment you are handed or emailed. You know, email is a form of delivery now. So if they email you the agreement on the 25th or hand over an actual, basically original copy of the agreement on the 25th, that's when your 10-day cooling off period starts. And 10-day cooling off periods are regular days. Holidays, weekends, none of those basically are exempted. So you will count on the 25th to the 5th of October will be when your 10-day cooling off period will end. It's the regular 10 days. So even if it's Christmas, in some cases, the builder will make an exception just because their offices are closed, the lawyer's offices are closed. They will make an exception and give you an extended period of time in the event it is a statutory holiday like Christmas or New Year's or whatnot. Other than that, every holiday, every long weekend will count as a day. You can, within your 10-day cooling off period, even up to 11:59 p.m., you can ask for an extension. But make sure that that is communicated in a timely manner, because if you email them at 11:59 p.m., yes, even though it's legal and binding, oh, we didn't get the email or the lawyer's office wasn't there or whatnot. So just make sure you're, for your sake, for your client's sake, you're communicating this extension or the request of an extension, because they could deny you an extension request. they don't always have to give you that. So just make sure that you're communicating in a timely manner in the event your client does need an extension of the 10-day cooling off period. In most cases, if it's not during, the crazy launches of the projects, the builder's quite willing and agreeable to allow an extension of that 10-day cooling off period. And the way you request that is by contacting the sales office, ideally in writing via email, but communicate it verbally as well. Don't just basically assume that they're going to receive your email. Just send an email in writing. I'm the agent of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the purchasers of Unit 202 in Go-To Condominiums. My client's 10-day cooling off period is due tomorrow, the 25th of September. But for whatever reason, the lawyer is away, the lawyer needs more time, we need more time with the bank, whatever the case is, they need an extension of another, and ask for more, they will give you less. So if you need 2 days, don't ask for 2 days, ask for 4 days. And in most cases they will say, okay, no problem. At the same time, you don't want to leave this deal conditional for too long. You want it to firm up. So, ask for a reasonable amount of days. Don't ask for another 10 days because in most cases they will not give it to you. Because they want to firm this deal up and be done with it. So ask for the number of days that you require, and follow up with a phone call and make sure that that is permitted and agreed to in writing, ideally. Communicated with the lawyer. Within that, what happens within the 10-day cooling off period? So once your client receives their copy of the agreement, you want to get this agreement of purchase and sale along with the disclosure booklet. This disclosure booklet is basically all the legal documents pertaining to this condominium building or the project that will be built. So it's equivalent to your status certificate in the resale work. And this disclosure booklet shows you the budgeting for the maintenance fees moving forward. It will show you the reserve funds, what they are calculating it to be. It will have all sorts of really cool information, including the number of visitors parking, the total number of parking, what the allotted maintenance fee for each unit is, what the maintenance fee on the parking is, what the maintenance fee. So it's like a 100-page booklet of sort. So you want to get all of that document along with the complete agreement of purchase and sale to the lawyer right away. Lawyers, even though it takes them less than half a day to review the agreements, they will take 10 days to review it. So just make sure you are working with a builder, with a lawyer that is familiar with the pre-construction world, so that they can help and facilitate your deal and not pull it apart and make it fall apart. So find a lawyer that's familiar. Just because they're a real estate lawyer does not mean they're pre-construction lawyers. They're different worlds. They're slightly different. The requirements are different. So find a lawyer that's comfortable with pre-construction. Feel free to reach out to me and I can give you referrals of lawyers who I've worked with and who are quite familiar. Because if it comes time for assignments, you want a lawyer who knows what they're doing. If it comes time to arguments like what Mojan was saying with the door not being built from inside the house to the garage and whatnot, that's something that you want a capable lawyer to be handling. So get the agreement to the lawyer will review it. Even though your client might have already signed some cappings as part of their incentives, I promise you there are more cappings that the lawyer can ask for. The builder of the purchase, the builder's lawyer will not agree to everything your client's lawyer asks for, but it doesn't hurt to ask for it. There will always almost always be extra capping that they can get. They can also review the terms of the assignment, the terms of assignment and what the assignment will basically, how it will be allowed, what the rules and regulations surrounding assignment are. So that's something that the lawyer should review. In most cases, you'll find that oh, sorry, I missed you. Sorry. So in most cases, you'll notice that the builder has a clause in the agreement that says tenant is not allowed to rent the property during interim occupancy, and that's your occupancy period. The reason they do that is for their insurance purposes. And in Pemberton, for example, is one of the builders that does not allow, and no matter how much the lawyer, the purchaser's lawyer asks for that clause to be deleted from the agreement, they will not delete that clause. But in almost all cases of the purchasers being investors, they rent the property and they face no issues during the interim occupancy. The builder puts that in for their financing purposes, for their insurance purposes, and just to basically cover themselves. But your tenant, your client will be able to get a tenant in there during interim occupancy, no problem. No one will ask, they'll look the other way and they'll pretend like it hasn't happened. Yes, I know it's not illegal, but it is happening on a daily basis in the pre-construction world and in the condo mini apartments. So I wouldn't make such a big deal out of it. Some clients will be very basically difficult about it and they won't feel comfortable, and that's fine. You know, you can't win them all, but you know, in most cases they can rent it out during occupancy. Are you joining us? Hi, okay, you got one. Okay, so the other thing you want to do during the 10-day cooling off period is bring this agreement of purchase and sale to the bank. Because what you want to do, ideally you've had your client pre-qualified prior to them purchasing this property, and you know that they are qualified to purchase up to $500,000, for example. But what you want to do is, and in most cases now, the builder is asking for the pre-approval letter within the 10-day cooling off period, but will give you up to 2 months to deliver the letter. Unless you deliver the letter, they will not give you your cooperation, agreement of cooperation to sign. So no mortgage pre-approval letter, no commission. You know, so they're holding it hostage until you provide the lawyer's information, you provide the post-dated checks, and you provide the pre-approval letter. This pre-approval letter now has to be specific to the purchase of this property. It has to say Mr. and Mrs. Smith have purchased Unit 404 at Go-To Condominiums, and they are qualified to receive a mortgage of. And this mortgage amount has to be the balance of their deposit. So if they're putting down with the builder, whatever they're giving the builder, if the builder has a promotion of 10% down deposit, your mortgage amount has to be a 90% amount. If they're giving the builder 25% deposit, your mortgage that they need to be qualified for needs to be 75%. In the event your client has money saved up and they only want to mortgage 50% of the property, the letter has to explain where the difference is coming from. So, you know, you're giving 25% to the builder as deposit. They want 50% of it as mortgage. That extra money is savings. It's a gift from parents, whatever the case is. That letter has to explain where it is, because that amount that they're qualified for plus the builder's deposit has to equal 100% of the purchase price. And if it's anything other than that, if it's missing the unit number, if it's missing the name of the project, if it's missing signature of the mortgage broker that's giving this, that's typed this letter up, if it's missing that amount, if that amount is $1,000 short, the builder will not accept that letter from you and will not give you your commission or co-op agreement to sign. Yes, hi, Sherry.
Assuming that they're going to get all of the rest of the deposit from the mortgage, let's say 75%.
Yes.
At the time that we're going to bank to get approval, we have paid only 5% out of that 20% of that figure asks. At this time, we go for 95 or we go for?
No, they have committed on their agreement of purchase. In most cases, if it's within your 10-day, they've only given a $5,000 or $10,000 check and it hasn't been cash. But they're committing as part of the agreement to pay 25% up to. So they will, the bank will look at that. They'll look at the amount you're committing to on your agreement of purchase and sale. Okay, so you want to get that pre-approval letter ideally within the 10-day cooling off period. In most cases, it might take longer, and I understand that. But if you've pre-qualified the buyer, you know that they're qualified. If you haven't pre-qualified the buyer, you really want to try and get that agreement, but because in the event they are not qualified for it, then your client's in trouble. Yes, I understand that from the moment they get pre-approval now up to 4 years from now when the building's closing, so much can change. And you know that is just the way that these pre-construction deals work. But at the time being, the builder wants to make sure that the buyer is a qualified buyer. And in most cases, they're applying for construction financing, and they need to show the builder needs to show their bank that the purchasers are qualified buyers and that these are deals that will close down the road. And that's why they're quite picky when it comes to these pre-approvals. So they will give you your co-op after they've received, after the 10-day cooling off period. Now the builders are holding it back. They're holding back your co-op agreement. They will only give you a copy of it to sign after the 10-day cooling off period is done and that deal is firmed, because people were signing it and people would cancel. So they'll wait until the 10-day cooling off period is done. They'll wait until they've received all the post-dated checks from your client. They'll also request that pre-approval letter, and then they'll give you a copy of the co-op. Once they give you a copy of the co-op to sign, it has to also get executed and signed by the builder. Once the builder signs it, then you get a copy of it, whether it's original or not, it won't make a huge difference. But what you want to do is that co-op agreement, along with the first page of your APS, ideally include the Schedule A, which is the floor plan as well, but it's not necessary. So first page of the agreement, co-op agreement, you submit with your deal checklist to the office so that they can process your commissions. Okay, they'll invoice the builder and so on and so forth. The builder will not automatically pay it to our brokerage just because you've signed the co-op. You need to file the proper paperwork with the deals office, and the deals office will then send them invoices and whatnot. Okay, interim occupancy, we talked about 10. Okay, when the deal is firm. What happens when the deal is firm? When the deal is firm, your basically responsibilities as far as going to the sales site is pretty much done. What you want to do is, up to the point where the purchaser signs and the deal is firm, you want to accompany your buyer to the sales office at every given point. Nowadays, the builders are becoming a lot smarter now. If your client walks in without you at some point, and even though you emailed them the floor plans, you emailed them the price list, and they have your email in hand, they walk into the sales office without you, and they say, I'm here to look at what you have available. Do you have an agent? And in most cases, this builder site will hear no. Even though your client might say, yes, I have an agent and here's their email. Oh, you don't have an agent. Okay, well, welcome, because they don't want to pay that commission if they don't have to. Please make sure to educate your clients. I understand that clients like to drive around on the weekend and visit every sales site that they see on their path. And that's fine. You don't have to be there, and I understand that you can't physically be available. Educate them to bring your business card and basically register their name under you as their sales rep. Because if they bring your business card and give it to the sales, I was just driving, I saw your sign, my agent is not with me, but I am working with a realtor, then that way at least you're protected. If they actually like a unit in that building and they call you and say, oh, I was just at such and such site and I saw some unit and it's really interesting, you want to follow up with a phone call right away, and at your earliest convenience, run to the sales office and say, my client was here, I understand they saw a unit, they liked it, I have a buyer agency agreement with them, I'm their agent, I've been working with them. Make sure you build that rapport with the site agent. I'm hearing now that the agents are actually telling our clients, if you buy with us without your agent, we can give you a discount of this much, and if you go through your agent, you get nothing. So they're basically disqualifying us and taking away the value that we bring to the table, because they want to save on that 4% commission. They're offering a $10,000 credit to your client because in the interim they're saving 3.5% of commission that they no longer have to pay. So it's becoming a real problem, and I get agents calling me all the time. My client went in, even though I've been working with them with a year, and it's really up to the builder at that point. It's up to their discretion. They can very easily say, no, you weren't here, you're not entitled to get commission. Yes.
What if they emailed?
Sorry?
What if they've emailed, if they've gone 2 years ago and they're on the builder's?
It doesn't matter. It's fine. They can register on the builder's site. If they walk into their first visit with you, you're their agent. So yeah, people register on builder sites all the time, not knowing, or on other agent sites. And nowadays what's happening is, because there are other agents who are advertising these properties, and when you Google search the name of the building, you get pages and pages of Google links that pop up that are other agents' websites. They're not, you might find the builder site on page 5 of your Google search. So most people will register on all these other realtors' websites, not realizing they're now part of the database of some other platinum realtor. So just educate your client. It's important to tell your clients, this is what's happening in the industry. This is what you're doing. If you want to find a project and register on the builder's site, Google them by the builder's name. Go to the builder's website And then from their website, go to the communities or, upcoming projects or whatnot, and then register that way. But, I can be your source of information as your realtor. You can rely on me, give them that assurance. But in most cases, a lot of people will register anyways, and that's fine. But the minute you walk into the sales office with your client, and that is basically express consent that you are their realtor, and the builder will respect that, and they will not basically give away your commission. So make sure you're accompanying the buyer to the site. Make sure you're communicating with the site agents. If after they've signed the agreement, they choose to go in every day with their uncle and grandmother and look at the site finishes, you don't need to accompany them. They've already signed the agreement of purchase and sale, and you have been registered as their realtor. If they choose to visit 50 times after, that's fine, no problem. So long as you were there while they were negotiating the unit. And the value, obviously, we bring to the table is these things such as, where is the garbage chute, where is the elevator, because this isn't information the site agent will freely offer unless you are asking. What are the rules and regulations surrounding the assignment of the agreement? The builder's agent is there to represent and basically look after the best interest of the builder, not your purchaser. And if your purchaser realizes and recognizes that you're there to protect them, and that you can ask the right questions. Be careful with the questions you ask, though. You don't want to throw the build. If you want to make a sale, and yes, I understand we want to be conscious as much as possible, but you've probably done your due diligence prior to bringing the client into the sales office. You've made sure that this is a reliable and reputable builder that you're bringing to the site. So don't ask really difficult questions that that will make your client feel uncomfortable, because I've seen so many cases where the client is set on a unit and they're ready to go, and then the agent starts asking all these difficult questions. Is there assignment, and why isn't there assignment? Do you allow rental during the occupancy? And then all of a sudden the purchaser's like, am I making the right decision? So just be smart with the questions you're asking. Yes, protect your clients. Ideally, do your research prior to bringing the clients. Visit the sales site, talk to the sales agent, ask these difficult questions when your client is not around, so that when you bring them there, you're there to encourage them and let them know why this project is a good project to be investing in, if it actually is. There was something else I wanted to tell you guys about that, but so yes, ask the questions intelligently at the right time. And once the agreement is signed, then you're good to go. I talked about that, interim occupancy. Okay, so right, we were talking about when the deal is firm. So when the deal is firm, you've signed your co-op. From this point onwards, all you have to worry about is your client's checks clearing up. If the checks are not clearing, there's usually NSF, really large NSF fees that are associated with any bounce checks. So please make sure your clients are aware. They don't all of a sudden a year down the road go and change this bank account to another bank account, because if that's the event and they have to request for the checks back and replace the checks, in some cases the builder is charging up to $700-800 per check to pull that check and replace the check. These admin fees will be passed. Even your client, even if they refuse to pay the fee right now, they will be charged at final closing on the disclosure statements. So just basically make sure to familiarize your clients with the fact that make sure this checking account will never close for the next at least 4 years, and that your checks will not bounce. Make sure you program them into your phone. Make sure if you're transferring funds, you're doing them on a timely basis, because like I said, $750 for pulling each check and replacing each check per instance. And then there's anywhere between $250 to about $500 per NSF check fees that you have to pay to the builder, and your client will have to pay to the builder, and they'll charge HST on top of that. So it's nice if your client can avoid that. So just be on top of that. And then a year prior to their prior to their occupancy, they'll be contacted by the builder's office to go in and pick their colors of the unit, color of the floor, color of the cabinetry and whatnot, and customize the unit. It's up to you and the relationship that you have with your client, whether you want to accompany them or not during that period. If you are going to be responsible for renting and potentially selling that property down the road, then it's not a bad idea to do a little bit of hand holding and make sure they don't pick purple carpets and, some ugly polka dot cabinetry. You want to do a little bit of hand holding there, because then you're going to be stuck with that ugly color finishes to deal with down the road. But you don't have to be there, because in most cases the builder will have an interior decorator / designer that's sitting with your client and advising them. And in most cases now the builder has a package A, B, and C, and they can't intermix them. So package A has been coordinated to have matching cabinets and floors and so on and so forth. So yes.
All the upgrade has to be done before closing the deal, or what is the news from the client?
So when you purchase the unit, and sign the agreement of purchase and sale, that is the time, ideally after it's firm. Some people will do it during their 10-day cooling off period, and that's request for any structural changes, because the structural changes are what you can request at the sales office level, and the sales office level will then send in whatever their forms are, requisition form of some sort, to the builder's office, and they can come back to you and your client and say, yes, you can remove this wall for 1,500 and add this closet for 2,500, and whatever the case is. And then your client has time from the moment they deliver that fee to basically that they tell them how much the costs are, up to slab pour, up to the level of their building that's being poured. That price in most cases is still valid. Once they pour the slab on the unit and they start building that level of the unit, then the prices will all of a sudden change. So that's when you do the structural changes. Any sort of upgrades of, I want to change my cabinets and I want to change the laminate to hardwood flooring, will happen at the time of color selection. So when they call you in to go in and do your color selection, that's when you can request upgrades. If you have any credits that was given to you to be used at color selection, that's when you can use it. So you cannot put the credit they give you towards structural changes and removing a wall and adding an extra sink and whatnot, but you can do the upgrades of the flooring and the cabinetry and whatnot. And keep in mind that in most cases, when your client's doing an upgrade of the unit, they have to pay for that cash. They have to pay out of pocket right away on the spot. It does not get added to their mortgage amount or the purchase price of the unit. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, so the interim occupancy is when the client gets keys to the unit and is able to physically move into the unit. They might choose not to move in, but that's when they get possession of the unit. At this point, they're still not the legal owner of the unit. They have not, the deed of the unit is still in the builder's name. And in some cases, depending on what the deposit structure is, your client will have to pay maybe a 5%, an extra 5% towards their purchase price as part of their deposit structure that they agree to. But they also are paying an occupancy fee on a monthly basis. And this occupancy fee is roughly equivalent to what their mortgage amount will be. In a lot of people refer to it as a phantom mortgage, because this is what they would normally be paying if they had actually closed on the unit and that they were, it's almost like they're renting from the builder. They're also paying the maintenance fees to the builder. Builder will collect 12 post-dated checks and whatever the amount is that they've allocated to that unit as part of their occupancy fee. On a monthly basis, it's withdrawn from their account, and your client is living in there, not being owner, paying this occupancy fee, and this amount is not going towards their purchase price. They're renting it from the builder in so many cases. So just keep that in mind and educate your clients that they have to budget for that as well. If they're already living somewhere, and they don't want to move in, then they will be paying two fees of whatever, wherever they are, and their occupancy fees. Yeah.
How many percentage of the total mortgage or purchase?
It's basically, the calculation is roughly speaking, I can't give you exactly what it is, but in their condo docs, there will be, the lawyer can talk to them about what the occupancy fees are, and you might be able to shed some light into this, Shirin, no? Shirin? No, Shirin, I'm asking you, are you familiar with how they calculate the occupancy fee?
I know.
It's in most cases, it's an interest that's on the balance.
Your property taxes and your maintenance costs.
There you go. So balance of the mortgage, it's the percentage they calculate on the balance of the mortgage. So basically, if your clients pay 20%, it's the 80% that calculate what based on whatever interest rate that they choose to calculate it on, plus their property taxes, approximate property taxes, and the maintenance fee. Yes.
A share of property tax of the main area, it hasn't been divided.
It hasn't been, yes,
Share of
yeah,
property
because the
tax.
property taxes are not assessed anyway. It's rough, yes.
Kind of means, because all these are not wrong.
Maintenance is pretty much the maintenance fee.
No,
They'll still charge you. They'll charge. Yes.
Yeah, the occupancy is up until the building is registered.
Right, so the occupancy fee is payable until the day at which your client is informed that this is their closing date. And this occupancy period could last anywhere between 3 months to 2 years, I've seen. Right? So that's why you want to work with a builder that's reputable enough and they're good on their delivery times. If a builder is good and they have many projects on the go, they don't want to spend 6 months or 9 months collecting occupancy fees. What they want to do is close the building, be done with it, move on to the next. Builders like Pemberton, builders like Tridel, they don't make their money on occupancy fees. In most cases, you'll find that, if on the higher floors, their closing date and their occupancy date might fall on the same day. They will actually never pay an occupancy fee. So that's a best case scenario. But there are instances that people have paid up to 2 years of occupancy fees. It's
Is there a certain date where they say to the legislature, you cannot, under the condominium act, go over 2 years?
yes, so when you
Somebody around about time period.
So when you're signing the agreement of purchase and sale, there is a portion of the APS that is called the Tarion agreement. And on the Tarion, there are a bunch of dates, and those dates are referred to as critical dates. And the date will basically, on that Tarion schedule, it will indicate your first occupancy date, the expected occupancy date. It will also give you an outside occupancy date, which in most cases is 3-4 years after their delivery date. So, your occupancy might be July 23rd of 2020, and then the outside occupancy could be December 31st, 2023 or 2024. So the Tarion will give the builders ample time, but yes, in some cases, if that time period basically passes, then the builder's responsible for paying your purchasers huge lump sum of fines on a daily basis. The same way, if your client is scheduled to take occupancy of a unit on March 21st and they do not take occupancy on that day, every day your client postpones the occupancy, they're charged fines and fees. So it goes both ways, but the builder has a huge, basically, cushioning period where they can fall back on. Closing, okay, so once the interim occupancy is done and your client has paid their occupancy fees, and if they've moved in or if they've rented in, whatever the case is, their lawyer will receive a letter from the builder's lawyer saying on such and such date it will be your final closing date. And on the final closing date, that's when your client's mortgage will have to be ready that's when it will get kicked in. That's when your clients will start paying their mortgage fees. That occupancy fee will basically cease to exist from that point onwards. Your client becomes the owner on the deed of the agreement or on the deed with the city, and they're officially the owner of the unit. In most cases, the building amenities are still not ready, even at the time of final closing. In some cases, it's still not ready. The reason they do, I'll get you in one quick second. They do occupancy because before they can register the building has to be up to about 80% or so occupied before the builder can go to the city and say, okay, I'm here to register the building. Until they have not registered the building, they can't start their final closings. Yes.
Now, is the occupancy fee based on interest rates, mortgage interest
Roughly.
rates at that time?
Roughly.
Yeah. So
That's why they refer to it as a
so
phantom
it's
mortgage.
not So if the mortgage rates have gone up, it will be higher than.
To be honest with you, I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not really familiar on whether they're going to prorate it for that period, because there will be a rough idea of what kind of occupancy fees you're looking at in the disclosure booklet right now. But I would imagine that the builder will revisit at the time of, but don't quote me on that. The next time we have a lawyer in here talking about assignments and whatnot, that would be a perfect question. I'm going to partner up with one of the lawyers that comes in and talks about construction courses with us. And that way, that would be a perfect question to ask, whether they will actually prorate it or not. Yes, Marcia.
The training of when I started from the day of intern occupancy or from?
Tarion is there from the get-go to protect your client. There are different aspects to Tarion. Tarion will protect a certain percentage of their deposit in the event the building goes bankrupt and your client doesn't get their money back. The Tarion will basically guarantee a certain percentage of their deposit to be returned. They will also look after even within your 30 days. So from the moment your occupancy starts, you start reporting to Tarion. So you have your PDI, pre-delivery inspection reports that you do with the builder, and in the event the builder's not willing to rectify or correct any issues, then that's when you report to Tarion. So Tarion is there to protect your clients from the get-go.
Yeah, but it's when I start from the first day, from the final closing.
Occupancy.
Final.
From occupancy. When they move into the unit, if there are any issues, you will report it to the builder. And if the builder's not willing to rectify or correct whatever the issues are, you could report it to Tarion from the get-go. Okay. So closing, yes.
The occupancy fee, the kind of builder, they have rented out.
Sorry?
When they started the occupancy fee, the owner, they have rented.
So that's what we talked about. It's up to, if the agreement, usually the agreement of purchase and sale will say you cannot rent during occupancy period. It depends on your agreement of purchase and sale. In most cases, a lot of people do rent them and the builder looks the other way and they're not too difficult when it comes to this matter, because they know majority of the people are buying as an investment. So from the moment you get your keys, you can potentially start renting it. But, talk to the lawyer prior to.
I know, depending on the.
Yeah. So closing costs are what your client is going to be responsible for at the time of final closing. And this is, again, something that you have to, when you're talking and selling to a pre-construction client, you have to prepare them for this. This is money that's going to come out of their pocket. It's not money that they could basically finance. It's not going to be part of their mortgage or anything. They have to dish it out of pocket. It's money that they have to be prepared to deliver to the builder. And their closing costs are different than their basically their mortgage. So your mortgage is your mortgage. Your closing costs are what you're paying to the builder in order to basically close this unit. And these closing costs, they'll get a statement of accounts delivered to your lawyer, and there will be different aspects to the closing costs. So there's going to be development and levies charges. There's going to be levies for hydro installation. There's going to be taxes, park taxes, education taxes. There's going to be admin fees. There's going to be photocopying fees. There's going to be registration fees. There's going to be discharge of mortgage fees that the builder has paid to the bank for discharging the mortgage they have. All of those fees they're going to pass on to your buyer. And for overall, you want to budget anywhere from 2 to 3% towards their closing costs. Keep in mind, yes.
What is the cap on that?
So different aspects of the closing cost, for example, the development and levies aspect, there's so many different clauses. It's, for example, clause number 14, and it has A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, different basically paragraphs pertaining to it. And the builder will, when they say, okay, we're going to cap the closing cost, in the body of that capping amendment, it will say clause 14, paragraphs E, F, G, K, and it will be capped at $2,500. So basically, any fees pertaining to those paragraphs will be a maximum of $2,500 and will not surpass whatever that capping fee is. But there's going to be other aspects of closing costs that might not be capped. So that's why your lawyer is so important, to make sure that you are basically capping whatever you can cap. Because if they've capped it at, you know, $5,000, and you know that that portion of the closing costs will not surpass $5,000. The city of Toronto, York region has increased the development charges quite drastically, up to about, last I heard was 40% over 2 years, but apparently there's going to be another huge increase up to 2020 on the development charges that they're going to pass on and charge the builders for building these projects. And that's why a lot of these projects are getting canceled now, because the developers sold at certain prices and assumed a certain amount of development charges, and they even capped, especially smaller projects, a townhouse project, if a developer capped the development charges and now they will have to pay out of pocket to build the property, they will for sure be canceling that project so that they don't have to basically swallow that kind of loss. So yes, closing costs will entail your closing costs 2% or so, and development, and you know, these two basically costs will include development charges, educational charges, connection fees, and land transfer tax, and so on. We're all familiar with assignments, I'm sure, and there are quite a few courses that are offered through the academy pertaining to assignments of pre-construction agreements. Please attend one of them, because at some point, if you are dealing with any, even if you're not selling actively pre-construction, people will come to you and they want to assign, especially in today's market. A lot of people cannot close whatever they bought 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So it's important to familiarize yourself with different aspects of assignment, how it works, what it means. But in short, it's when your client has not closed on the property, they only have, they've purchased the property and they have an agreement of purchase and sale. It could be prior to occupancy, it could be during occupancy. Your client now decides they want to walk away from this agreement. So they're selling their rights as the purchaser. They're selling their agreement of purchase and sale. And so they're assigning their right, and that's why it's called an assignment or agreement. And they're, you know, I mean, they're not difficult if you understand the concept of it. There's just a lot of back and forth between your client and yourself and the purchase, the new buyer that's going to be stepping into your client's shoes. And there are a lot of basically things you want to make sure of: who gets the monies, who do you pay the deposits up front, do you pay the increase in value up front. In a best case scenario, your client who's assigning their rights will make money in the interim, but in many cases I've seen it's people are stranded, they can't close. All they're willing to do is take away their deposit and just walk away from the deal and give the deal away. So just if you can attend one of those courses, it's important. Why pre-construction? So pre-construction might not be for everybody. What you want to do is, if someone comes to you, oh, it's the hype now. People think you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars if you buy pre-construction. Educate your clients. Find out why it is they want to buy pre-construction and whether it's actually the best decision for them. Does it suit their situation best or not? Basically, pros for buying pre-construction is that your client is not paying a lump sum of deposit. They pay the deposit in increments over a period of time. It could be, 5% every 30 or 40 days, over a 6-month period. It could be over a year period. It could be, they're paying the 20% from now up to occupancy. So that's nice. People can save money over time and pay it in little installments. Some developers might actually agree and come up with an incentive program where your clients, as opposed to paying every 3 months 5%, they will spread it out and say, okay, you could pay $5,000 a month for the next year and a half. whatever the case is, or 2,000. So, you know, the builder in some cases is willing to work with your clients and collect their deposit in installments. In most cases, in a healthy market, and if it's a good product that your client is purchasing, the value obviously increases from the time they purchase it up to when they are closing on the property. In most cases, the property has grown in value, so you already have equity built into the property at the time of closing. Your clients can choose the layout that they want, as opposed to go into a resale product where the floor plan is there, but you know, someone else has picked the color, someone else has chosen what the unit will look like. Your client will have a choice of, okay, I prefer this 1 bedroom plus den floor plan to that other 1 bedroom plus den. This one has a larger balcony. I can also choose the color of the floors and the color of the cabinet, and you know, so on and so forth. So they can customize the unit to their liking, as well as the fact that there is that carry-on warranty, and in most cases, it covers your client and it protects your client. So it's important, if someone is buying pre-construction, that you make sure, in particular freehold properties and townhouse properties, that there is carry-on warranty on the agreement. Some builders are not a member of Carry-On. They have to pay huge annual fees to Carry-On to have that membership. And if it's a smaller builder, if it's a new builder who's just started working, they might not be a member yet. They cannot get Carry-On warranty. So, you know, your client is setting themselves up for perhaps disappointment. They might not be as protected as when they're buying with a developer that does have that Carry-On. So just be cautious of that.
Deposit, is the full deposit covered?
Up $40,000 only. Yeah. Was there another? Okay. All right, so how we deal with pre-construction at Royal LePage. I'm sure many of you have reached out to me, and I've talked about our pre-construction website. So what happens at Royal LePage level is when products are launching, and products launch in different stages. So when a product is coming out, whether it's a townhouse or a condo apartment, in most cases, we're going to talk about things that are condo related, because a majority of the freehold properties do not pay commission. So just keep that in mind. But when a builder decides to launch a project, what they do is they hire a selling company. It could be Royal LePage, it could be Baker, it could be Milbourne, and these people are in place to basically start their promotion and marketing of the product. They try to basically plant the seed, get the buzz out. And what they do now is they reach out to top performing realtors across the GTA who have either previously performed well with the builder or have performed well through that selling company, be it Baker or Milbourne or Royal LePage, whatever the case is, and they will provide them some marketing assets. For example, logo of the building, they will give them renderings of the project, whether townhouse or condo apartment. They will give them some pictures. They will give them preliminary information about how large the project will be, how many units, what kind of finishes, where it's located, and the types of sort of like, they will also hint at the pricing, approximately at this many dollars a square foot. So they start planting the seed and creating the buzz. And these agents will then take this information, and we're talking about the platinum. It's referred to as platinum round. Some builders call it the elite circle, some call it the golden, you know, but it's basically platinum round. During Platinum Round, this is prior to the launch of Platinum project, they will release this sort of information to realtors. Realtors go out there and they build their landing pages, they build their websites, they blast the information off to their clients, to their existing database, and they start advertising this project and collecting purchasers and buyers and their database. Once the information is released, they will share it with the purchasers, and they will with their database. And when the worksheets are accepted, that's when basically the builder will start receiving. Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. So the way we do it now, if assuming that, not all of us are individually platinum agents with a certain developer. So what my role is now, I go to the developer and I try to bring that sort of access to Royal LePage as a whole. So the builder's dealing with me and Vivian, but we bring that platinum access throughout all of our Royal LePage offices. So those are the e-blasts that I sent out, and I'm sure many of you have seen these e-blasts. If you have not seen what this e-blast looks like, please go to your spam box and fish out. I'm sure it's in your spam box where, unfortunately, it gets sent to, and I have no control over that. But if I could show you what these e-blasts look like. So every so often, usually a couple of times a week, I send out an e-blast about some sort of a launch or some sort of a release. And here it is. Okay, so this is what, I can scroll down now. Hello, scroll down. Okay, so this is what my e-blast looked like. And this e-blast in particular was with regards to 543 Richmond. It's coming from pre-construction department or ycrcondos@gmail.com. So when you're searching in your spam box, please search for either pre-construction department or ycrcondos.com and fish them out and mark them as safe so that moving forward, you do receive it in your inbox. And this is my way of communicating to you any sort of upcoming launches, any sort of new developments coming, basically information. As information is given to me, I pass it on to you guys this way. And in many cases, it will explain for you what this email is about. So 543 Richmond launch, it's a condo apartment. It's located at Richmond and Portland. It's by Pemberton Group. It's launching on September 11th. Worksheets can be so in this particular case, even though the platinum launch was on September 11th, they're giving us an opportunity to submit our worksheets even prior to their launch. And that's why it says worksheets can be submitted as early as the 4th. So what I try to do it then, because if you were to submit your own worksheet, they might not recognize every individual realtor of the Royal LePage offices as a platinum agent. Your worksheet will be set aside. But I try to streamline it, so you forward your worksheet to me, I will send it to the developer, and the developer will recognize me and Vivian as your platinum agent. But if you're going through the pre-construction department, you are entitled to receive your entire commission. So if the builder's offering 4%, we will pass that 4% completely on to you guys. In the event I don't have access to a project and I have to refer you and put you in touch with a third party, whether it's a Royal LePage agent or not, it's an outside agent, that agent will hold back a percentage of the commission because they're the ones basically using their connection with the builder to bring you in. You still will be representing your purchaser, and I actually very strongly recommend that you accompany your buyer to the appointments every time you're meeting. If you're going to the site, if you're meeting with this agent, accompany the client. You're doing the hand holding, you're still their agent, but you and that other agent who does have access will be signing a referral agreement between the two of you for that commission that is payable to you, and you can then decide what format the commission to you will be paid for. In the event the commission is 4% and that other agent is holding back 1%, there is a payment schedule that is given by the builder. 1% paid after 10% of deposit received, another 1.5% is paid at roof completion, and 2% is paid after final closing. You and that agent who has the platinum access will indicate on your referral agreement from each portion of the commission what percentage is given to you and what percentage that person will hold back. Sure.
What's the worksheet?
Okay, I'll tell you though. Good question. So let me see. Okay, so this is how I communicate. Please read this carefully. If you have any questions, reply to these emails. You can ask me questions with regards to them. And in most cases, I will provide a link to, if the floor plan is available, I will provide a link for you. If and this link, once you click on it, it brings you to my Google Drive. and that's where the files are saved at. Please do not forward this e-blast to your buyers. There will be information about commissions. There will be that link that's available in there. That's for you guys, as our realtors. If you need to forward any information to your buyer, what you have to do is once you click on that link and it brings you to my Google Drive where the files are saved at, you can right click and download any of the files, or if you even go inside the file on the PDF and save it onto your computer or onto your Google Drive and forward either the link or that attachment in your email to your buyer, as opposed to give them my link, because worksheets are in there, commission information about commission will be in there, and you don't want to share that. And in most cases, your buyer might not be able to even access my Google Drive. So then they will not be getting the information. And I will get, I haven't forgotten, I will come to worksheets. So that link is there for you. You'll also see two other buttons. Visit the website, and that's the pre-construction website that I was referring to. Any projects that I bring to the to our office, our companies, will have a link on our pre-construction website. So in the event you cannot find a particular web blast that I sent out, you don't need to go looking for it or reach out to me. And at any given moment, you can log into our pre-construction website and access the same information that I've shared on our pre-construction website. In the event you've forgotten how to log into our pre-construction website, and I'll walk you through it right now, but in almost all of my 90% of the emails that I send you, and I'll tell you why, because some of them are directly the builder's email that I'm sending. So over there, you will not see this link. But the emails that come with the Royal LePage logo on top, if you scroll down to underneath the page, you will see two lines that says for instructions on how to log into our pre-construction website, click here. Once you click here, it opens up a PDF format file, and it has step-by-step instructions on how to log into our pre-construction website. Okay, and it's literally 7 steps. If you follow it closely, you're into our pre-construction website. And what it's telling you is to go to yourcommunityrealty.com, and it's telling you that underneath the social media logos, there is a link called Realtor Link. You're going to click on that. It brings you to an MCS page. On the MCS page, you ignore that client code, don't touch that one. Your user ID will be your last name, comma, space, your first name. And it's not case sensitive, you can just write it all in lowercase. And then your password in most cases is your TREP code, the 95, whatever your TREP code is. In the event that code does not work, all you have to do is click on forgot password. It will ask you for your email address and for your registered name with the office. And almost instantaneously, the MCS website will email you your password. So there, it's basically proof, error proof. You can't mess with this. Once you log into that page, it's right here. 952. It brings you to this other page. Okay, it brings you to this other page. Over here, it might look daunting, but all you have to do is go to Royal LePage Your Community Intranet. Once you click on it, then you're onto, so big. You're onto, and I apologize for all the steps. I tried to eliminate the extra steps. Unfortunately, this is the way MCS sets up their site, and it's the only way to do it. But once you do it a couple of times, it will become like second nature. So you click on pre-construction. And then on the this is our website. See it? Let me see if I can reduce size so that, there we go. Okay, a little bit bigger. Okay. Better? Yes. So at the very top, you'll see some, so these logos are, each of them is a project. At the very top, these are the projects we are selling for the developers. These are our in-house projects. It means basically that you guys have direct access. If the project is during Platinum, you will have access even if it's within Platinum. If it's already launched, once you go in, the agents on site are your colleagues. They're Royal LePage Realtors, and they will be very nice to you. And once you scroll down a little bit more, the rest of the icons are outside products that we have had platinum access to or have access to. The closer you are to the top of each category, and I've divided them into Toronto, York Region, and other. The closer you are to the top of the category, the more recent the product is. If you have a client looking for a particular property and you know they want downtown Toronto, I've tried to make it as accessible to you as possible. We've tried to provide intersections underneath the logo so that you know this one's Richmond, Portland, this one's Keelan, Shepherd. So, you know, that might help you a little bit. But what you want to do is keep in mind, once you click on any of these files, it takes you back to that Google Drive that I was referring to. Make sure to confirm the information with the site, because I loaded that product up into our website when it was platinum. It's 6 months later. Obviously, the platinum round is done. And, you know, they open to all realtors, and that's done. They are now open to the general public. So at any given point, anyone can walk into their sales office. That also means that that price list that I might have uploaded back in February when they launched the project might not be the most accurate price list right now. So what you want to do is open the price list, look for the information of the sales office, contact the sales office and say, okay, there's the information of the builder right there, the builder sales office. You call them up. They're usually closed on Fridays. Don't call Fridays. Builders offices work Monday, Thursday, Saturdays, Sundays. And I want a copy of, are you working with builders still? What's the commission you're paying? Can you email me a price list? Can you email me your floor plans? And they're more than happy to share that information with you. So just keep that in mind. Now, going back to the information that you are receiving by clicking on my links. So renderings, like we talked about, are samples of pictures of the building, what the building will look like, what the amenities will look like, what the inside will look like. And this is when I shared with you guys, you're more than free and welcome to share and upload that onto your social media, do flyers, advertise it, email it to clients. It's yours to do with as you wish. The only thing you don't want to advertise when a product is being launched is the price list. You do not want to post that anywhere. You can email it to a particular client that's shown interest, but do not post it on your social media. Just because these prices are subject to change. This is platinum round, and you don't want the rest of the population that does not have access to the project to get a hold of that price list. And the other thing you don't want to post on social media is your floor plans. There has to be a reason why clients reach out to you. Everybody nowadays has an aunt, uncle, cousin, friend who's a realtor. You posting that information up to your social media, it's very easy for anyone to just download it and use it and go with their uncle and buy the unit. So basically, make sure that you're pre-qualifying buyers. Don't post too much information. Get them to come to you and request it and meet with them and whatnot. Yes.
Can you post like starting from?
Absolutely. So you can say starting from low 300s, mid 300s, whatever the case is, but don't post the price. Brochure is there, and it's in PDF format. POA in the event that your client has to fill out a POA. Some builders provide the form. The e-blast copy, it's basically, I was noticing that there's a lot of information. When I put it on our e-blast, it's lost in the interim in the event someone doesn't have that e-blast. So now I copy the body of the e-blast that I post for you guys, and I save it in this link so that you will know on what date, what e-blast I sent out and what the body of it was. The price list is usually that price list floor plan. Now, what builders are doing is they will provide an approximate, at platinum launch, they will provide a range of prices starting from, or one bedrooms from 350 to 450. But later on, as the project it gets released, they will actually have a price list of $250,000 for like a one bedroom unit or whatever the case is. Or some builders, what they're doing is once they sell a whole bunch of units, they start coming out with hot lists of units. So you might have heard this expression of hot list. What these hot lists are basically they pick and choose units that haven't sold and they list them for you. Again, keep in mind, this might not be all the units available. There might be other units available, but now they're advertising hot list of unit. We cannot reserve them. It's first come, first serve. This is just another basically ploy to create that buzz and get the excitement going. But that's what the hot lists are for. floor plans, obviously, and then we have worksheets. So what a worksheet is, and it's in particular used when a product is just launching. As you know, the builder launches friends and family, so they bring the product to their friends and family and whatnot first. And usually during friends and family, you might be friends with a builder and you might get invited to their friends and family launch. And that's great because you get access to the information. Keep in mind, during friends and family, they do not pay commission because they offer very aggressive incentive packages. And in most cases, they will not pay commission during friends and family. After friends and family, they do their platinum or basically elite circle launch. Then that happens for a few weeks. Then they launch to VIP agents. VIP agents nowadays refers to the general realtor population. Between platinum launch and the VIP launch, it's very likely that the prices have been increased, and it's possible that the incentive packages have changed. A bunch of units sell during the VIP launch, and then they release and launch to the general public, and they call it registrant launch or public launch. Again, availability will have increased because they've sold units. Prices are pretty guaranteed to have increased in most cases unless the product is flopping, and incentive packages are changing. And keep in mind that usually the very first day of the public launch, they do not pay commissions. You want to confirm that. So if they are advertising a public launch, confirm with the sites whether if you bring your clients on the public launch date, are you still entitled to commission? They want to encourage the public to come in directly on that day. So if you go the day before during their VIP, which is still their VIP, you're entitled to commission. On that day, you might not be able to earn commission, but the day after you will. So just make sure you're confirming this information with the builder. Now, during the platinum launch, when they are allocating units and the sales office is not open for you to walk into, because normally a sales office opens their doors and you go in and you can bring your clients in. But now that they're doing these tiered launches, and during platinum launch, no one is allowed to actually go to the sales office. The doors are not open, and they keep a very close watch on the door. In most cases, the door is locked. You could be banging on the door. They will come to the door. In most cases, keep in mind, they are still allowing people through just because they want to sell, and the market is not as hot as it used to be. But when it used to be really hot, they would guard that door. And unless your name appeared on the platinum list, you could not get in through that door. The way you could communicate with the site was to send in your worksheet. A worksheet is a form that basically allows you to fill in the information of your purchaser, and you want, when you're filling this worksheet in, you want to complete it fully. Any information missing means that I don't have that information to input into the system when I'm uploading it on the builder's website. Or if I'm sending it directly to the website, to the builder via email or fax or whatever information is missing, they're too busy. They don't have time to chase anybody and say, you didn't put in a phone number, your email is missing. They're going to put that aside. They're going to ignore it. So complete the form as best as possible. Please make it legible. You fill out the information of your purchaser or purchasers in the event there are two buyers purchasing one unit. If your one buyer is purchasing 2 units or more, you need to do more than one worksheet. For each unit you're requesting, you fill out one worksheet. And you are also indicating their unit of choice. At this point, you can't walk in and say, okay, what do you have available? And they'll tell you, okay, I have unit 202, and you say, okay, I want unit 202. You're not doing that. What they're doing is they're giving you a bunch of floor plans. You review the floor plans with your client, or that you know your client wants a 1+ den, and you basically indicate their first choice over here, first choice of unit, second choice of unit, the square footage, price, and what level you want it to be. Keep in mind, the more specific you make it, the tougher it is to get an allocation. If I say on this, some builders give you 2 choices, some give you 3, 5, whatever the case is. If I say here, I want floor plan 1A, and I want it on, and its square footage is 650, whatever. You don't need to worry about that. But price range, you kind of are indicating the price. You will not know the exact price. I don't know why they put it there, but it's just to give it a range. And if you tell them you want it on the 10th floor, I want floor plan 1A on the 10th floor, in most cases, there's only one of that unit. And yes, your client wants it, but there's also another 30, 40 people that want it. Try not to make it so specific. Try to keep it as generic as possible. What you want to do is, if your client only wants a 1+den, list all of the 1+den floor plans. Say, I want the 1A or the 1B or the 1C or the 1D, and I want it to be mid-building for choice 1, or I want it high building or low building. Just give them choices so at least you get an allocation. Unless your client is really particular and they do not want to be, on the lower floors and whatnot, and I understand that, but we can't really negotiate during the platinum round, allocation round. The reason being is they use us at the platinum round, and they use that buzz to get rid of the difficult units. They get rid of lower floor units. They get rid of really high floor units because they have the high premiums, low floor units because nobody wants them. They try to get rid of the tough units. And I understand that, but that's the price we pay for having first access to the building. Your client either wants in and they're willing to settle, or they want to wait perhaps for VIP launch when more product is available. Price might have increased a little bit, not drastically, but it might have increased. They might have better choices, they might not. It's a risk your client will have to take. Do you just want to get in and be on the 14th floor, or do you want to wait, potentially not get in, or potentially get in and have a 24th floor? So that's a decision your client will have to make.
So is it not wrong? Is it for price-wise? Is it better than the other?
It's the first round they're releasing to the public. After platinum round, the launch, the price will not go down ever. It will always go up. Even if the product is flopping, the builder will not come and slash their prices openly. What they will do is they offer incentives of cash back in order to move the units if they're not selling, because they don't want to jeopardize the units that they have previously sold. If people have bought at those higher prices and the builder comes and slashes their prices, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Either they have to compensate those people, and they will lose face. It will basically taunt the project. So they will never really decrease prices. They will offer incentives.
So the first round is always the best.
Yes. So friends and family usually is the cheapest. In most cases, the price of friends and family and platinum are more or less the same. They might increase it to platinum because now they're paying commission, or they might keep the prices the same and change the incentive program. At friends and family, they might offer cash back, for example, and at platinum, they're not offering that cash back anymore, but they're paying commission.
Excuse me.
Yes.
If you put the range of info, as you said, how we can find our specific request. For example, if, for floor, if we put on my clients want for 5th floor or 25 floor, and I said it's from 15 to 22nd, right? And how we can have a chance.
Okay, so that's the thing. You want to communicate to your buyer not to be too picky, too specific. If you put 5th floor, chances of getting an allocation on the 5th floor are pretty slim. What I recommend you do is keep the choices generic up here. When you scroll down to the bottom, in most cases, almost all the worksheets will give you a section for notes. In the notes, you can put client is, client prefers floor plan X, Y, and Z, and prefers level 25th. Ideally, this is their budget. This is where you can communicate to the sales office and tell them what specifically you need. But ideally, keep your choices generic up there and open, not too specific. So this is what a worksheet is. So then this worksheet, in most cases, if I have platinum access, you're submitting it to me, and I will submit it on your behalf in my name, because then builder will recognize my name as the platinum agent. But then, like I said, all of that commission is passed on to you. So that's what the worksheet is. And in my eBlast and in the eBlast body, in the link that I'm providing, I will have instructions as to what to do with the worksheet. So please make sure you complete it fully. Please indicate whether they're end user or investor, because the builders are asking that question now. at the time of closing, obviously this might change. Your client might have bought as an investor, but they want to move in now or whatever the case is. Most people are just putting in end user because situations can change, but this is fine, I'm guessing for tax purposes down the road. Yes, go ahead.
Can I just help me understand time frame? So from the time that you first get this and we do a blast, so we can put something on a website trying to get potential buyers.
Yes.
To the time that you're in the platinum stage and you're putting these things in, how quick is that window?
Usually not a lot. So ideally, we want the builder to tell us that this project is coming as far in advance as possible. But normally the time frame that we get is at most a couple of weeks. So you want to basically, and I'll tell you, there are some resources that you can utilize to find out about upcoming launches and projects. But at the same time, it's a tough call, because if you are advertising and talking about a particular product and we can't get access to it, then you're sort of setting yourself up for disappointment. But my intention is to at least give you 2 weeks or 10 days to work with. You at any given point might have a database of people that you're working with. And keep in mind, if you build a website and you're advertising this landing page for 543 Richmond, and you are not going to take down that site when the building already launched, when the platinum launches down, you're not going to take down that website. That website might continue to accumulate database of clients, and you can always use that database and e-blast other websites to them. Just the same way as we do our resale product when we're advertising something that might be sold, but we can still collect purchasers and sell other product to them. So just keep that in mind. But ideally, I try to get that information, the logo and the basic preliminary information to you guys as earlier as possible. 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes a few days. Unfortunately, it's basically we're at the mercy of the builder and at the mercy of the selling company, and they're not always really nice.
And then
really
the next
nice is
step,
putting it nicely.
once you've applied this, thank you, but once you've made this application and sent to you, you submit to the builder. How long till we get feedback of whether we got that before it goes to the VIP in general?
So if I bring you back to our e-blast, maybe if I find it. Ooh, I closed it. So on my e-blast, I will indicate here. I'll show you. On the e-blast or on the, sometimes you'll find in the folder of the worksheet, there will be another file labeled instructions on submitting a worksheet if the builder provides it. And on that instruction, it will indicate to you what your timelines are. So if for example, for this particular product, I think I had said worksheets can be submitted as early as the 4th. Worksheets can be submitted to the builder as of the 4th. Okay, so they started receiving these worksheets, and they will not stop receiving it, but ideally you want to get it in as quickly as possible. What happened with this particular product was on the 11th, they opened to the general platinum agents, but in some cases they had given, according to themselves, they had given some of us basically a leadway to get in our worksheet sooner. On the 12th, they started allocating because they wanted to give basically an opportunity to other agents to submit worksheets as well. So from the 4th to the 11th, they received worksheets. On the 12th, they started allocating units based on the worksheets they had received. And allocating means basically assigning units, saying, okay, for the worksheet that Neda Omidi had submitted for Mr. Smith, requesting a 1+10, we're going to give her unit 405. And they communicate that to me usually in an email, and I will communicate. So you've submitted a worksheet to me. You will have your name and information up top. So then once I get that allocation for that Mr. Smith, I will contact you via email or phone or both. And I will say, okay, they've given unit 405 to Mr. Smith, and it's facing south, and it's priced at $499,900. And please get back to me as soon as possible. So we literally have hours, at best a day, to get back to them and say yay or nay. My client is interested. And once you basically express that your client is interested to purchase this unit, then that's when they will set up a signing appointment. And they will say signing will start as of the 13th, I think it was, for that particular project. So, a day or two later, the signing appointments will start. Your client might not be available until Sunday, so we'll book an appointment for them to go in on Sunday between 1 to 2 p.m. and the agreement of purchase and sale will be ready for them. You will accompany your client to the site where they're signing it, and there is a sale. You have to do no selling at that point, basically. The site agent, and it's usually a signer, they're not going to be really well versed on the project. If your client has questions at that point, you can ask them, but don't expect them to blow you away with all sorts of fantastic information about the building. They're just signers because they have a lot of crowds in there. Your client they're going to go through the agreement with your clients, just confirming their information, name, deposit, purchase price, whatever, and your client, okay, sign here, sign here, sign here. Give us your checks. Here's your copy. Thank you very much. Goodbye. What you want to do is basically at that point make connections with one of the site agents while you're there. Just ask around. Are there any of the agents if your client actually does have questions, and basically just exchange information, get their contact info so that you can be in touch with that particular person. Once you sign away, because I will be there. When my basically role is to facilitate that connection, submit your worksheet, make sure you get the unit you want, and communicate the signing appointment. From that point onwards, it's you and your client who are showing up to the signing appointment. If you have any questions, by all means, reach out to me, email me, call me, and I'm happy to help. But if you have site-specific questions, that's the opportunity to make a connection with the site staff and ask the questions or email the questions to them. You get your agreement of purchase and sale, you pass it on, like I said, to the lawyer and get the mortgage stuff started. And if there are any changes to be made, ideally you want to do that within your 10-day cooling off period or any extension thereof. Let's just say your client decided to buy the unit in their name or submit the worksheet in their name. On the day of signing or 2 days after they sign, they decide, oh, I actually want to add my son or wife or whoever to it. You can request via email or phone call that, this is what the situation is. They'll tell you the instructions. You go in back with your client and their wife or whoever else, and they will prepare an amendment and add the other person's name. Yes.
I have a question when you're talking about the signers. So you're taking a client into the signing appointment. They may have questions. You have someone there who's just basically trying to get their signature on the bottom.
Yes.
So they're actually committing to buying this. I know they have the 10 days without really getting their questions answered.
You can
That
at that
sit well,
point,
right?
if they're really particular, listen, I mean, it's going to be a mayhem in most cases.
Yeah.
And you're better off getting the questions answered within the 10 days. But
Okay.
if they're really particular and there's something specific they want to know, ask for one of the site agents.
Okay, so if they don't like the answer to the question, say day 3, they can still get out of it. 'Cause
Absolutely.
it's a
Up
10
to
day.
day, up to, like I said, 11:59 p.m. day 9, they can back out, no questions asked, and get their money back.
Okay, so it's no questions.
Sorry, yes.
I see that we have something there, purchaser's ID. I'm not sure it's the right place to ask that. What if the purchaser is on student visa? Is that okay? They can go continue?
Yeah, so they have a passport. Passport can act as an ID, and then you just keep in mind that they're non-resident, so the deposit structure of the non-resident will apply to them. And on that, anytime you're submitting your worksheet to me, please in that same email attach the ID. Once I see that it's an outsider, and in most cases nowadays they're asking whether the purchaser is a citizen or a landed immigrant or if they're international buyers. So if you can indicate if in the event that if they're on a student visa, just in the note section or somewhere around the page of the worksheet, just indicate this is a purchaser, the purchaser is on a student visa.
So that means that the method of the instruction for deposit is different for them.
That's right. And they will indicate on the information where the information of the pricing is and the deposit structure is. They will most likely indicate a deposit structure. No, price is the same, but deposit structure will be different. It's 35%.
It would be for my tax final, right?
Well, that will happen at the time of closing.
Yeah, at the closing.
Right, yeah, whether your client at that point is still a non-resident, some people become a resident by that point, so they will, was there another question?
But one more question.
If
What
there's a
happens-
buyer out of the country, can the lawyer have the power of attorney to purchase it for?
If the site allows power of attorney, then yes.
So the foreign buyers, what happened in between that and the closing? The foreign buyer have assigned it to somebody else's loan, so it's applied for the local buyer. So
Whoever the purchaser is at the time of final closing, the taxes surrounding the situation will depend on whoever the purchaser is.
That could change, because the government's talking about changing that. I read.
Well, they're now charging a income tax on the assignment fees as well, because back then people would not be reporting it and they were making money in the interim, but now the builder is required by law to report any assignments, and if there's any monies to be made in between, if your purchaser does not report it to CRA on their income taxes, the builder will have definitely reported it, so it's a good idea to do that. Yes.
Age 18 can join as a owner or young adult.
Anyone, I've seen people buy for their 5-year-old daughter. So long as they can get mortgage pre-approval and some sort of, warrant. So what they do is they add the adult on the agreement, because I don't think it's someone who's not legal to sign, but at 18, they become legal aging to sign. But in the event they're 18, if they don't get pre-approval, then they might need a guarantor, or they might need a parent as a co-signer, as a second purchaser in order to buy. That's a good question for a lawyer and accountant, though.
And what about the tax when the child?
I'm not going to comment on taxes. Talk to a lawyer. It all depends on the situation.
The builder accept because it is illegal.
Builder will sell.
It is a void deal. Yeah. It is a void deal. It is not acceptable.
If your client is of legal age to sign, they are of legal age to sign. Whether they can afford to purchase is a different story.
I mean, not the afford. Because when we read about this battery lesson, they told this is a void deal. When below age, legal age, somebody deal is not acceptable.
Sorry, so what you're asking me is if someone below the legal age
Mhm.
signs,
Yeah.
and it's not a binding deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have to be legal purchase age, legal binding age. But if they're not, and you want to buy for your daughter, you put your name and you put your daughter as a second purchase. If they're not legal,
Excuse
fine.
me, I think in this matter, a friend wanted to talk about voidable. It's not void. It's
Oh,
voidable.
that I can't comment. So it's law stuff.
When it's a minor, below 18, so the agreement can be voidable if the purchaser reaches 18. At that time, he or she can void, but it's not void.
No, I know, but I want to know what the treatment of the builder for this matter. They accept
So
or
at
not.
that time, when she's now 5, and after 13 years, she's 18, then at that time, whoever has been the last seller, she's in charge, not the builder. That means the 18-year-old child and the last seller are the builder, or in between we have the seller. So between these two, it can be voidable.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
The cap, when you cap it, when you go to sign, is that when you cap it? Like if you're capping some development costs or some.
So when the circumstances surrounding assignments are slightly different. So let's say at the capping is done within your 10-day cooling off period. If something is not agreed to within the 10-day cooling off period, after that point, you can't request anything. The
Right.
builder will say no.
Yeah.
So if, let's say your purchaser within the 10-day cooling off period got 2 different types of capping. In the event you're assigning the agreement of purchase and sale, the builder may choose to give you the option to assign that capping back on to the next buyer or not. Or for example, if there's a credit on closing of some sort, the builder might tell you, if you are assigning, this credit cannot be assigned to the next purchaser. So it all depends on the builder. Usually the cappings are passed on, but any sort of credits are questionable, so you need to check. Whenever there is an assignment situation, what you want to do is, at the earliest opportunity, communicate with the builder and find out what the circumstances surrounding an assignment are. Are assignments allowed? What happens if I need to assign a unit? Do I need to use your builder's form, standard form for assignment, or can I do my own agreement of purchase and sale?
I wasn't talking about assignment, I was talking about whether we try and negotiate caps before they, when they're signing or before
It's a
they're
10-day
signing?
period.
Or is it always after during the 10 days?
Negotiations will not have a lot of grounds before signing. When your client is putting pen to paper, that's really a good time to start the negotiation. The sales office staff and the signing agents might not have the authority to give you capping. So they will tell you, so you can ask about it. Are there any cappings allowed, and what can we cap? And whatever they are entitled to pass on, they will pass on. Whatever else, they will tell you, have your purchaser's lawyer requested through the builder's lawyer, because they don't have authority to allow or disallow. Yes.
If I, for instance, buy a unit and I qualify, can I have in my agreement of purchase and sale that I will sign it before closing?
In most cases, the body of the agreement is pre-typed and the builder's lawyer has drafted this agreement. So you can't physically manually make changes to the body of the agreement and initial it and assume that it's binding. You'll have to go to whatever they've indicated. Any changes you need to make will have to happen via amendment.
10-day agreement.
Within your 10 days. In most of the builder's agreements will have an assignment clause in there. So when your lawyer reviews it, if there is no assignment clause, then you can ask for it. But they will talk about assignment. What you want to do is, yes, make sure there is an assignment clause. And number two, what the fees for assigning are. And that is all within the 10 days. Prior to signing something, the sales staff will not be able to answer a lot of your questions, or might not assume that your client is serious enough to answer the questions. After you've signed the agreement is the perfect time to be asking these questions, to be negotiating and getting the extra cappings and the assignments and the fees waived and whatnot. But then after the 10-day cooling off period is done, the deal is firm and you cannot make any more changes.
It's not better if it's within the 10-day period, if you do all this.
Sorry?
This is the 10-day period, the cooling off period.
Yes.
Is it better to have everything done within that time?
Absolutely. After that, you can't do anything in it. The deal is firm. Yeah, of course. So this last page, let me just quickly tell you. So these are the resources that you can use for, in the event you can't find any particular site on my pre-construction, the Royal LePage pre-construction site, because I don't obviously have access to every project there is in the GTA. There are thousands of them and they pop up like mushrooms. So I can't possibly bring everything to you. And we try to basically pick the best ones and bring you the cream of the crop. But in the event your client is looking, because I get a lot of calls and requests for properties in Bradford or in Barrie, out of town, Oakville, and I might not have them on the Royal LePage website. So you can use, there are a few websites that you can use to search by map and find out what projects are within a particular neighborhood. One of them is Buzz Home. The other one is Condo Now. There's another one that I don't have on this list, but it's urbantoronto.ca. And they will allow you to search by map. So I'll give you a quick example of Buzz Home. Let's just say I'm looking for something at Yonge and Bloor.
Sorry, Urban Toronto?
urbantoronto.ca. Urban, URBAN, Toronto.ca. So this is Buzz Home. Can you guys see it? Okay, so when I searched Yonge and Bloor, it's giving me all these little blue balloons. What you want to do is just be careful with these websites. You don't want to completely 100% rely on the information that this website is giving you. I use this website all the time when someone asks me what about a particular project. But what I use it for is to learn what the project name is and what the builder's name is in a particular area. So if I'm looking at Young and Bloor and I highlight this one, it should usually, it pops open what this project is, but for some reason it's not functioning too well here. But let's assume that when I basically hovered around this balloon, it showed me this one Bloor project. So what I do is I click on it and it brings me to this other, let me reduce it again so you guys can see better. Okay, so the information that I take from this is the name of the builder, number one, and the name of the project. I do not usually rely on that price range that they have indicated. A lot of the information might be useful information and you can use it, but don't quote it until you confirm it with the sites. Yes.
So what is it, this one compare with the real net? Real net
RealNet will
Realtor.
is not super. First of all, you can't search. You could search by area as well. RealNet, you need to have a membership though.
We are all member of.
No,
Not
MLS, yes.
MLS is, but that particular new construction search you can access as well.
It shows me the commission has been indicated, the commission.
But that site is not very accurate either.
No, we have to call actually.
Yeah.
What's the name of the site?
RealNet, it's part of your MLS membership. RealNet.
Confirm the commission.
But they do have a price range.
Yeah, but I wouldn't code it either. I would still contact the sales office. And it doesn't give you the contact information of the sales office. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I use this one. You guys can use RealNet, whatever source that you pick to use is fine. But basically what my point is, don't rely on the information on these websites. Call the site, go to the builder's website, find out, and if you can't find the information of their sales office on their website, call the builder's office, get the phone number of the site, and contact the site to get the most recent pricing, the amount of commission, availability, and whatnot. Don't rely on RealNet or BuzzBuzz Home or Urban Toronto and the information they provide you there. It's just really nice to search by map and find out what is available in a certain area. Sorry, there was. This is BuzzBuzz Home. It's on your pamphlet. It's on your page. Yes.
When you go to these websites, you see there is a chance that you become a BuzzBuzz agent.
Yeah, so don't sign up for BuzzBuzz agent.
How does this work? Because I have seen some of my friends in this store, they put on they are BuzzBuzz agents.
They have signed up for a membership with BuzzBuzz. They pay them a monthly fee, and supposedly BuzzBuzz tells them we will send you leads. I don't recommend it. I don't think they're qualified leads. The people who are shopping on BuzzBuzz could be shopping thousands of other places, so I would not pay a fee to become a member. Use the free information, use the RealNet information, and just contact the site directly. I wouldn't become a member.
Actually, just I want to.
That was a need.
You 1 second. Yes, go ahead.
Just I want to know about the additional 15% for non-resident, the builder requests that.
Deposit.
If the project, for example, it takes 5 years, and the non-resident purchaser, after 2 years, it's purchaser, that 15% will be back to the.
You have to discuss it with a builder, and I believe there is a website. I can email you the information, the government website. Apparently, they're entitled to refund of it. I don't know what the circumstances surrounding it are and what the criterias are, but on the government website, it talks about it, and I could forward the link to you, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, in the builder side, 35% is like 20%, it goes to the lawyers.
Yeah, of course, it's gonna be in trust account the same.
Trust account, and if they remove it before closing.
Remove what, you mean?
You can have it before closing from the first.
I don't know if the builder's gonna compensate it. I understand the government will compensate after closing.
Okay.
Yes.
How do we get updates about the project after you close it? Like, when you're paying the deposits, Do they give you updates about?
If you, so, I mean, yes and no, depending on the builder. In most cases, I recommend you register on a builder's website. And what they do is, if you're a purchaser with the builder, they have your email account, your email address, and in most cases, the builders communicate with their purchasers with the new developments on the site. Some builders do e-blasts and send out pictures of construction site. Okay, groundbreaking, they might have a groundbreaking party and they will communicate to the buyers, invite them back, come in for a groundbreaking ceremony and whatnot. Some builders don't communicate, it all depends on the builder. But you could, if the sales office is open, you're welcome to go into the sales office for updates if the builder's not communicating. And if they're not open, then you can email the builder and ask for updates. Yes? Portland, Richmond and Portland, so. Any other questions? Okay, this other one I wanted to tell you guys about, but I closed it. So, okay, on the link page, on the resources page, there's a very long link. This one, the very long address for the city of Toronto. So most of the townships and the cities' websites will have a section where you can search the applications filed for a particular project to be built at a certain site. So let's say I'm a builder and I want to build a townhouse project at the corner of Yonge and 16th. I go to the city of Richmond Hill and I file an application for that site that I want to build, and I wait for my permits and whatnot. The city will have a website, a section of their website that will allow you to search these applications that have been filed. This one in particular is for the city of Toronto, and this is where your client says, oh, I'm interested in the corner of, Yonge and Bloor, whatever comes up there. You can look there and it will give you the different types of applications that have been filed, and it will give you specifics about what the project that they're asking for will be, and rough timeline of when it will be released and what stage it's at. And most of the city of Richmond Hill has it, city of Vaughan has it, and that's a good way of finding out about upcoming launches and projects. And in most cases, these applications have been filed. There's not even a marketing name yet for the product, so you can't even register for it, but you can at least know that there might be something coming in the near future. Yes.
So is it basically what the sign would say on the?
No, there might not be a sign up yet.
Okay.
This is just an application.
So I'm thinking of Adelaide Simcoe, where there's 5 applications that have been filed with the city. Is this website going to give us more information on if the application has been granted? And
depends on the website of the city and how much information they're willing to share. My understanding is they might give you an indication of what the status of the application is, but they might not.
If you check the file number in the Google file number application, you find many.
Not all the cities though, it depends. Each city's might, because just recently we were doing a search where the city of Vaughan provides a certain level of detail about their information that they share on their website, but King Township might not share that same level. So I don't know if that's public information, to be honest with you.
just want to check, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Neda, what would happen in the event of, I know about our website, and you look it up and you find out that a proposed site that's been there, that's been advertised, everything, and the approvals have not been granted. What's the next step? Like what, in that kind of situation?
So
What do?
because these builders pay huge fees to have these applications submitted and get approvals and whatnot, what they in most cases do is they alter their plan to accommodate what the city's requirements are. So a builder had put in an application for an apartment building, 5-story apartment building in Kleinburg. The city said, absolutely no. They still own the land. So they said, okay, how about townhouses? They said, okay, what kind of townhouses? So they then went back and forth, and they finally got approval for linked homes and front-loading townhouses and so on and so forth. So that they will work with the city and they will adjust the plans in order to get the permits. Keep in mind, a lot of the projects, when they start selling, they don't have the permits in place, and that seems to be the case with a lot of the cancellations now. So it's a good question to be asking the site whether it's a pre-approved site or not.
Because if they're not getting approvals, I mean, is it safe to assume that it will be canceled?
Not safe to assume. Listen, I mean, from every 100 project that launches and sells out and delivers, yes, maybe 10 are canceled, but there are still 90 that go through and deliver to people. Personally, I believe a lot of these cancellations are happening because of the development charge increases. They've been drastic. They've been really large increases in the development charges. And the fact that the market has shifted the way it's shifted. In the event of the Liberty project being canceled a few months back, my understanding is they sold at $350s and $400 up to $500 a square foot, but they could easily sell for $700 a square foot now. So, is it worth for the builder to cancel and rebrand the project and sell again? Yes, absolutely, because they stand to make thousands and millions of dollars. But it takes a lot, if you ask me, for a builder to decide to cancel a project, because that will haunt them for a long time to come. Unless we're talking big money, they won't do it. And, in the event of the Icona project, everybody knew that there are no permits in place even when they were signing it. But, unfortunately, the market got so hot that people were buying. They didn't really care. The builders were basically throwing all sorts of difficult situations and protecting themselves and their rights as best as possible, and the purchasers were out to fend for themselves, and they were still putting pen to paper and signing these agreements, and just because they wanted to get in. But I think the purchasers are a lot more aware now. They're more educated. They do their due diligence a little bit more to know what they're getting into. Unfortunately, us as agents, we have to do our due diligence and make sure we're introducing a project that is gonna go through ideally, because not only do you stand to lose commission, but your purchaser might lose faith in the product, that in your abilities to recommend, unfortunately. But it is what it is.
What are usually the best builders, site like that and some other ones?
What are the best builders? I mean, the big names.
Who knows before normally,
There's another course I think coming in. It's a tough question. I don't have a blacklist of builders. I don't, if they have a good history of product, then you generally will assume that they're good builders. Builders like Tridel and the Menkeys and Green Park and whatnot. If it's a fresh builder that is just starting and it's their first product that they're offering, I'd be a little hesitant, right? But Google search is fantastic. You can always Google search builders. There's a build website as well that has a directory of the builders' names. Unfortunately, there isn't any rate your builder website where you can rate the builder. Maybe there should be, right? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day. We'll talk soon. Who was there?
Gary, how are you? Hey, how are you?
Good, good, good.
Yes, please. No, can you page me, but then you can put me through to his website, please. Thank you. All right, thanks.
Site ficar میکنی مثلا شروع میکنیم با اون سایت کار کردن